Welcome to Business Owners Speak. Today, our guest for the day is Mark Greenberg with Breakthrough Mediation. Mark, how are you today?
I'm good, Matt. How are you doing?
Excellent, and thank you for joining us. What we're going to do, we're going to talk a little bit about you and your business, find out a little bit about what makes you and it tick, and let our viewers and watchers understand a little bit more about Breakthrough Mediation and what you're doing now and where you want the business to go. How's that sound?
Sure, sounds good.
All right, so tell us a little bit about you and the business.
All right, well, I'm a 25-year attorney at this point, a little bit more, actually, like 27, 28-year attorney. And like a lot of attorneys, did a lot of trials, did a lot of litigation. And as you kind of go through that, you start seeing the value in resolving and settling your cases and not trying quite as many as maybe you used to. One of the last trials I did, the verdict came in. It was, I won't tell you which side I was on, but it was less than the defense had ever offered, more than the defense had ever offered, and less than the plaintiff would ever have accepted. So that kind of just lays out that it was just right down the middle there.
Right.
So I wanted to mediate cases, and the other aspect was I went through a divorce maybe, 13 years ago now. And I had to be on the client side and have somebody telling me all these things that I didn't want to hear, I didn't like. It irritated me, which is a very mild way of stating it. And I didn't even think some of them should ever matter. But the reality was they did matter. And if I didn't factor that in, the judge who was going to decide how we were ending our marriage was going to factor all that stuff in. So I'm hearing all this, and then we go to mediation in that, and we have the wrong mediator for the first two mediations. And it's a good mediator. She's still out there, but just not the right personality for what we had. So we finally brought somebody else in on the third mediation, like 8 months into the process, and she was able to help us break through some of the issues that we had. And after that, we were able to settle everything, sign it all up an hour or two later. And as we left that mediation, my former wife and I, we got along pretty well. All right, so how much would we have saved if we brought her in 8 months earlier? And we realized it was a lot. And then we thought about all the aggravation and emotional drain that it had taken out of both of us. And I saw the value in what that last mediator had brought to us. And that's when I started thinking I should do this. So a couple of years later, I got certified, started building it up, and then eventually decided to do it full-time. And now that's what we do is full-time. We call it dispute resolution. It's just lawsuit or any kind of dispute resolution or settlement. Try to find a way to help two sides that don't agree, find a way to see if there's a way to agree short of having a judge or a jury decide it.
Interesting. So you took some professional and personal experience and kind of wrapped it into one to make a full career change, basically.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a full career change. I say everybody, this is the most fun I've ever had practicing law, but I'm still practicing law because I'm using a lot of the same skill sets. The difference between having an attorney do it and people who don't have a legal background is we know what Plan B is. Plan B is going to a judge or a jury. So it's not like a negotiation. If somebody decides they don't want to buy the piece of land or they can develop it somewhere else, they'll buy a different piece of land. But when you have a dispute, that's usually not really an option. You've already filed a lawsuit or someone's about to, and it's going to get decided. There's no walk away in the traditional sense of, okay, we'll just go buy another piece of property or do something else. Someone's deciding that. It's whether it's you're deciding it or you're throwing your hands up in the air and letting the chips fall down and having somebody else decide it for you. So it's still practicing law because you got to be able to use those leverage points. Well, what does the law say on this? What do the jury verdicts look like? How's that going to play out? Is that evidence admissible? That's the kind of stuff that's different from doing a traditional negotiation over, a business deal that you can both just walk away from and say, it's not the right deal for us. You don't have a choice here. You can't just walk away unless somebody completely wants to dismiss their lawsuit. And if you do, there's no ability for the other side to then seek their fees for all the time and money they've spent fighting you so far.
Right.
So that's kind of the difference. It's not really a full career change.
Sure, but you'd say certainly one of the value adds of your particular business is the legal background and the fact that you're an attorney who has dealt with the Plan B in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So mediation in general, talk to me about you mentioned skill set, and yes, there's a knowledge set, but what about just behavioral traits that are important to help come to a peaceful resolution in mediation?
Well, that's a good question. The behavioral traits, there's a lot of different factors that go into it. And everyone's got different personalities and different levels of risk tolerance and different levels of, I don't want to say foresight, but dealing with things before they come to a head. You know, the ostriches among us, if they stick their hands in their head in the sand until the last minute, hard to resolve that until you're right before trial where they have no other choice. Because a year before, 6 months before, they can stick their head in the sand a little longer.
Yeah.
You know, a week before, now they really don't have the choice. So, you know, it's part psychology, part game theory, if you study any mathematics, part legal analysis, part kind of just working through ideas and listening and trying to figure out what's really motivating somebody, because it's often not what they usually say it is. It's usually something else, and you need to kind of figure that part out. And also dealing with whatever expectations they had coming into the mediation. A lot of times, you know, they wanted to settle on terms that are, quote, reasonable. Well, reasonable is like beauty. It's like looking at artwork. You know, I mean, everybody has their own definition of it. Usually someone's definition of reasonable is what they kind of want, not necessarily what they need. And it's sort of like them giving in 20%, the other people giving in 80%. And that's probably not going to happen. So you need to work through it, trying to find a place that's a little bit closer towards neutral ground, and figuring out where that is and what's going to motivate someone to get there. What makes it in their best interest to resolve it, or getting them to recognize what would make it in the other side's best interest to do what you want them to do. Because no one's going to do something that they don't think is in their best interest.
Oh, that is interesting. There's a lot of psychology involved, I'm sure. Tell us about
Candidly, Matt, it's not a lot different than what you guys do in that sense. You got to read your person, and you know what you would say to me as my coach is probably different than what you would say to somebody with a much different personality. You know, the dominance and all the profiles that we do, it's a different way of looking at it. Sometimes, you know, people who are detail oriented, you got to give them the details.
Right.
People who want the big picture, don't give them the details. You're going to lose them. You know, give them the strategy. Different ways of, you got to figure that out and try to figure out who wants the information in what way.
Sure. Interesting. So what's the current makeup of Breakthrough Mediation, your company itself?
I hope you can ask me that in 2 years and give you a different answer.
Well,
right now it's
I'll
mostly,
make a note to
yeah, right now there's 4 of us here, but it's mostly me. The other ones are kind of, 2 are retired and work a little here and there, and then another one's still a full practicing attorney who does some mediation. And candidly, I wish you would do more. Ryan, if you see this means you. So we're trying to hire new mediators now, people who want to transition from practicing law into becoming a full-time mediator. And candidly, with the help of Action Coach, we've developed a glide path for them to do that. So as they slow down practicing law and start mediating, there's going to be a dip in their income, but it won't be too severe and it won't last very long. And they can see how that'll play out while they're trying to tie up the loose ends from their legal career. So right now it's about 80% of it's me, and in 2 years, I'm very much hoping that's down to about 40%.
Flip that, right?
Yeah, well, it's the difference between having a really great job that I love and having a business.
Right. Yep. Great point. And I will make a note to follow up so we can side screen these from this one to the next one. Just
make sure I'm not wearing the same shirt.
That's right. Tell us what's the biggest challenge facing your business right now?
Candidly, it's finding people who will make that transition. One of the things we found is, to do what we do, you need to have some experience. So that it's hard to get into mediation as a 20 or 30-year-old. You need a little bit of, gray hairs. You need some experience. But at the same time, if somebody is 60, they're looking to retire and slow down. They don't want to do the work to build up a second, chapter of their legal and professional life. So finding people in that 40 to 50 range is ideal. But the problem for people in their 40s and 50s is they've got kids, they've got a mortgage, they're saving for college, they've got all sorts of, activities and stuff for their kids, whether it's bar mitzvahs or sweet 16s. All that stuff is happening. So it's hard to say, I'm going to slow down and take a dip in my income for a year or two to develop that. So that's really the trick. And the hardest thing is finding those people who want to do it, are willing to do the marketing and the networking and have the skills to do that, and will be good mediators on top of it.
So you're positioned and ready for growth. It's just a matter of getting people on board to grow with you.
Yeah, the great thing about our business is every civil suit in Florida, and every family law case for that matter, is ordered to mediation by the court. And many contracts have requirements to go to mediation before suit. Homeowner and condominium, all association disputes have to go to mediation beforehand. So we don't have a demand problem, but we want to be able to get, take in a bigger piece of the market that's out there so that we can effectively help people resolve those cases. So you have to find the right people to do that. And with what we do, it's very people similar to perhaps what you guys do. People generally, or attorneys, I should say, generally don't hire, I just want anybody at a firm. They want particular people. So we'll use Mark, we'll use Joanne, whoever, but it's not just anybody who it's not like, all right, well, we'll go to any location of, Domino's Pizza. It's just not how it happens. I want this chef to cook my pizza, and I'll go where that chef is. That's the difference.
Nice to have lead generation not be, a concern necessarily, because like you stated, they just kind of flow in. You just need the right people to knock them out. That's great.
Yeah, lead gen's not the problem. It's the number of transactions that we focus on.
Yep.
Who our clients are, and what happens if we start, our business with someone's tailed off, what's happening, make sure we reach out to them and find out what's going on.
Interesting. And we always like to make sure our business owners stay humble. So if you had to look back and when you made the transition to this business, is there something you did or a decision you make that if you had to do it over would maybe do it differently?
Excuse me, I'm still getting over a cold. You guys can edit that part out. Something I would do differently, probably started a little bit earlier.
There you go.
For me, I'm motivated more by fear, and the fear of kind of leaving what I had and jumping and doing it was really, really difficult because you get comfortable and it's scary. You don't quite know how it's going to go. And when I talk to potential mediators, that's part of what I try to walk through with them is, yeah, it is scary, but this is possible. There's a lot of, as you said, there's not a problem with lead gen. It's, hey, come try us out, come work with us and not somebody else. That's the trick of it. Look, there's a lot of good mediators out there. So what's going to differentiate us? And, why would we, excuse me, I just heard our doorbell. Why would you come work with us or try it out? So that's
the biggest thing you would have done differently is make the decision sooner. You made the right decision. So well done. That's good to know. So we always like to ask business owners, just outside of just the hard work and your experience, do you have some routines or some best practices that you like to do that you think have helped you professionally?
Yeah, and it's weird because I'm not a routine oriented person. I'm not, if I have to do the same thing every day over and over again, I'm bored out of my mind and I won't like it.
Right.
I'd be a horrific surgeon. Because I after doing 500 knee surgeries, I wouldn't want to do anymore. And of course, the ones who do it best have done, thousands. So I've had to learn how to do that. And what's helped me is I get up every morning and I have the same routine every morning. And I get up, I do some quick affirmations, which is literally like, a minute on my phone. Then I'll go and stretch for 10 minutes to 15 minutes or watch, a 10-minute yoga or something like that. And then, while I'm eating breakfast, I read for about 45 minutes. And that's kind of the nice thing. And I do it before everybody else gets up. In fact, if I don't get up early enough and it kind of bleeds into when they get up, I'm always irritated because I like that morning time. And that sets the day up for me. And that really helps me a lot. Those are kind of the early things that I do. Other than that, I don't, I work out 4 or 5 days a week, but that's when I can do it in the evenings because that works for me. Those are the things that really kind of help me out.
That's great. It's amazing the morning routine, when it gets interrupted by a variety of things, it becomes instantly irritating because it's your reset, right? It gets you started to have as productive a day as possible.
Right.
Yeah. Amazing how that works.
And then it's like, oh, I haven't done this yet. Like I didn't read very long, or I didn't get to read much. I'm like, oh, I hate that.
Right.
You know.
So going forward, what's what's kind of the end goal for Breakthrough Mediation? Where do you want it to go? What do you want it to be?
I mean, what I want it to be is is the dispute resolution company in Florida. That's the ultimate goal. Really, from our client's perspective, just keep providing great service for them, letting them know that when they come to us, and we only bring in the best people, and if they're not good, then we don't keep them. And providing that service to our clients so that they're feeling good, because our clients are all attorneys, and to keep their clients happy, they need to resolve the cases, because most clients don't want to go to trial. So you need to help them do that. So the goal is to have that kind of a reputation throughout Florida. And then I guess if you want a numeric goal, since that's the way to do it, I would love to have 8 mediators who are busy. What I do is I show them, here, if you work 52 or 50 weeks, here's what you can get. But if you want to go to 40 weeks a year, this is what you can do. So I would love to have 8 mediators, each working 40 hours a week, taking 12 weeks off a year, and making a good living doing it. That would be an awesome success for me and for them.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to ask one more question. You mentioned, so you'll reject cases and clients, right? If they come in and they just don't either fit what you're looking to do or your values or whatever that may be.
Well, we'll reject potential mediators is kind of what I meant.
Okay.
Hard for us to know what a case is coming in the door, so we don't generally reject any kind of a case. We very rarely will work on cases where people don't have attorneys.
Right. Okay.
More from a business sense than anything else, but generally, yeah, we're very, very hesitant on those.
Sure. Well, I'd say working 40 weeks a year sounds pretty nice. So hopefully you'll be able to fill some of those positions and pretty soon be the mediator in Florida.
Well, hopefully. I'll let you know when I hit 40 weeks a year too, because I'm still not doing that.
Sure. I'm sure. Well, Mark, look, really appreciate your time today. Great to learn a little bit more about the big transition you made in the middle of your career, and good for you that it's going so well. And we wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Thanks, Matt. Same to you.
All right.
Take care, my friend. I'll see you.